I'm really excited to have Bryan Johnson here with us tonight. Bryan is, I'm going to tell you a little bit about him. Bryan is the founder and CEO of Blueprint, Kernel, and OS Fund. He says he's the world's most measured human. He sold his company, Braintree Venmo, for $800 million in 2013. And I have to give him credit. He has come up with the most elaborate retirement strategy I have ever come across. Since then, he's been investing millions to slow and reverse his aging. In 2021, he set a world record by reducing his epigenetic age by 5.1 years in 7 months. That's not bad, is it? Please welcome Bryan Johnson.
Hi, everyone.
I'm so glad to have you here at RAADfest with us.
Thank you for having me. It's great to see you all.
I feel a little bit like we conjured you out of the ether. We've been talking about age reversal in the present tense since we started RAADfest, which is this is the 8th RAADfest, and we're getting more and more documented evidence of age reversal now. And I think that is a hugely significant step, and here we are. So let me just ask you a few questions just to kind of get the ball rolling, then we're going to take questions from you guys. So when you guys have questions, raise your hand. Are the mic people out there, the mic runners? Is that a yes? Okay, so you work on that. Okay. So big question, sort of macro level question. How do you feel about age reversal now, a couple of years in?
Yeah.
A little bit, a chunk of time in versus when you started.
Yeah. First, thank you to all of you. Thank you to all of you. I'm new to this game, and I get to play this fun game that you've created. So thank you for your work. I know many of you who've been working for decades on these endeavors, and I just appreciate you immensely because it's so fun, and you've created a great environment. So I really appreciate being here with you.
I'll just add to that. I was talking to Bryan about this backstage. It is a big game. It's the biggest game ever. And there's room for everybody to be a giant in this game. So,
yeah.
More real, less real? Is it easier than you thought? How is your perspective, if it all changed since when you got into it?
Yeah, I don't think I would have believed myself if I could travel back in time and convey what we could accomplish in just under 3 years' time of going through the process of measuring, looking at scientific evidence, and going through protocol. I legitimately am in the best health of my entire life, physically, mentally, spiritually. I would not have believed it would work as well as it has.
Fantastic. And I don't know if you follow Bryan on Twitter, it's pretty interesting and also pretty funny, but you're just talking about, many different age reversal protocols and activities, things that could contribute to age reversal that you're trying. Clearly, you're taking the sort of broad brush versus silver bullet approach. Do you want to comment on that at all, and what your take is on that?
Yeah, I thought that one of the more interesting things is Homo sapiens have been the most dominant form of intelligence on this planet for quite some time. Computational intelligence is now rising and rivaling us in many areas and superseding us. And I wondered, would it be possible to build an algorithm that takes better care of me than I can myself? And I know my own foibles as a human. I don't trust myself to walk into a pantry full of goodies. And I know I'm fallible in these ways. And I wondered, could an algorithm do a better job at being me than I am? And I think the answer is yes. I said yes to the algorithm. I go through a protocol with the team where we legitimately measure, we look at the evidence, we do a protocol, and I do exactly that. I opt in and said yes. And so to me, this has been the most powerful experience, is embracing the technology, even to ways that challenge the fundamental elements of our identity. Do I have free will? What is free will? What is the ability to choose? all those questions that come up when you start talking about these kinds of questions.
Yeah, so that's interesting. It touches a little bit on possibly a death urge component or a self-destructive component that you kind of worked around. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, at 7 p.m. every night, I was in the middle of building my startup. I had 3 little babies. I was struggling with chronic depression. I was trying to leave this religion I was born into. And every night at 7 p.m., the stresses of the day would just be on my shoulder, and it felt really heavy. And the only thing that would bring me relief was thinking about those brownies in the refrigerator, that, or the leftover cookies. But it was like this idea that if I could somehow get my hands on this food, I would have this momentary relief of this pain of my existence. And for years, I was helpless to stop these behaviors. I was 50 pounds heavier than I am now. And so one night, I just kind of jokingly said, "Evening, Bryan, you make my life miserable, you're fired." And
yeah, so all the available technologies in the world can't make you do the steps, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just trying to sit up as straight as you sit up right now. Good example, right? What's been most surprising in terms of efficacy so far? Is there something that stands out or some strategy that stands out you're like has really contributed more than you expected or just been?
Sleep. Yeah, we all know this from experience, how we feel on a good night's rest and how awful we feel without it, and the difference it makes in our conscious existence. And so I just completed 6 months of perfect sleep using Whoop as a wearable. And yeah, thank you. Yeah. Those who haven't attempted it don't know how hard this is. And sleep is so complicated because it's psychological, it's physical, it's every aspect. Yeah. And so to achieve this, I think it's interesting, almost like I look at Amelia Earhart crossing the Atlantic, or the 4-minute mile, or the Wright brothers taking flight. Once one human demonstrates one accomplishment, you can't unlearn that. And now that you know 6 months of high-quality, predictable sleep is possible, you can't unknow that. And it creates a new standard of expectations within yourself that this thing which determines our conscious existence, could be a pillar of all of our lives.
Yeah, and it doesn't cost that much either, right? I mean, in a way it does because it's time, but yeah. Interesting that's been the biggest surprise because it's sort of available to all of us for the most part, unless you're like in medical school. Most sort of disappointing strategy that you've tried that kind of didn't pay off and you thought it would, and you marked it off the list?
I love every second of this. There's nothing I'm disappointed by. It has been all joy. Even everything that fails, fine. It's been just an absolute joy.
Okay, but nothing. Yeah, that's awesome. And why do you think it is so joyful for you?
I mean, I love this thought exercise so I love biographies and looking, for example, at the 17th century, and the entire 100 years is distilled into a few books. 100 years of human activity. And that's going to happen to our century as well. So if we transport ourselves to the 25th century and we say, what's going to be said about the 21st century? Right now, us in this room, what did we do that the 25th century is going to talk about? And to me, that punches through and forces this clarity of mind to say, how do I remove everything that's just noise in my life, and how do I focus on what really matters? And to me, this is it. Like what you guys have built as a community, it's don't die. That is the singular insight of the early 21st century. It's right in front of our face, and it's weird. It's 2 words, and it's right there.
Which really actually puts the body front and center, that the human body is the revolution of the 21st century, which is interesting. Okay, we're ready for your questions. Do people have questions? Can we get a mic over here? And please, I beg you to just say your name and just ask the question. Okay? So that we can hear it from many people.
Hello, my name is Prajya Vidyarthi, and I have been on a journey myself. And very recently, I checked my biological age, and it is 26% lower than my chronological age. But I did not follow the science-based approach which you have. Rather, I used methods which is outlined in ancient practices of various cultures. So my question to you is that your method, which you outline in Blueprint, is that the only method, or can it be done using other modalities?
Yeah. I was trying to solve a problem in that health and wellness is a lot like religion, in that the King James Version of the Bible supports 100 denominations. They all claim they're God's one and true church. How do you know which one is God's true one and true church? And the same is true with health and wellness. You have a charismatic person who has some kind of health protocol, and they offer it up as this cure-all. How do you know? So I look at my parents, they're now over 70, they're trying to figure out what to do in life. It's impossible. Everyone has a conflicting opinion. What do you go out and read books and take notes and do podcasts? Like, you can't. And so what I've tried to do is to say, I'm going to measure myself and do the entire thing, and I'm going to publish all of it for free. And then I'm going to say tongue-in-cheek, Blueprint is the best health protocol ever built in human history. Prove me wrong with your data. Now, if we do that, if someone beats me, amazing. Mission accomplished. Now you've got two examples where people are competing, not on storytelling, not on how charismatic they are, but on the raw data. And so for many things that can be beneficial for health and wellness, like other practices, I do some, but I never talk about it, because the only thing I care about right now is credibility. Can somebody take this and say, you know what? All the noise, yes, I'm going to do this one thing to get started. They may change it, fine. They may adapt it, great. But one legitimate starting point to get going on the journey.
I just want to point out there is a utility and efficiency in having a community and not trying to parse all this information on your own. It's a very potentially faulty process, right? So you have, what do you have to help you parse the information?
I mean, we all know this game. If you give 5 anti-aging scientists or 5 practitioners the same papers, you ask them for protocols, you're going to get 5 different protocols. No one agrees with anyone on anything. It's true. That's where we're at. It's fine. So let's just move forward the best way we can. And this was my way of saying, we all want to move forward, so let's just make our best guess.
So one way you can do that is by having a community and be sharing ideas, sharing experiences, sharing information, and it is a shortcut versus just doing it on your own. Okay. Let's get this person back there just for room geographic diversity. Yeah, in the center section there. I can't. Yeah, there you go, in the white shirt. Yeah, and I should have said this earlier. Please, as much as you can, just ask your question, just so we can get more questions.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Johnson, and I have a question. You were speaking about sleep previously, and I don't know what whoop means, other than whoop, there it is. Not sure what that is.
That's what it is. Whoop, there it is. There's your sleep. It's a wearable like Aura is a ring. Whoop is a wrist wearable. There's Garmin, there's Apple Watch. Any device that can look at these variables of heart rate, deep sleep, REM, anything that can track. It's 8 sleep bed.
Yeah, Whoop is ranked some of the best for sleep measurement. You can wear it on your bicep too.
Hi, Gary Abramson. So Bryan, apparently you're younger than when I first met you a few years ago. What I wanted to ask is, I don't know if the data would show anything, but how much of the benefit that you've been able to achieve is a result of just having a good lifestyle, sleep and diet and whatnot, and all the things that everyone forgoes with the American lifestyle, versus all the supplements and treatments and experimental things that you're doing?
Yeah, and nice to see you, my friend. The media has a lot of fun with me, which is fun. And there's this portrayal that this is inaccessible. rich guy spending a whole bunch of money. Yep. And we know there are power laws in things we can do. And one of the most important power laws is stopping bad behaviors. You don't even have to do what I do. Just stop the bad stuff. Stop overeating, stop skipping sleep, stop skipping exercise. And so to me, this is really hits on the psychological element that criticizing Blueprint is cover for addiction cope. And that's what's happening, is because you have these ability to not spend anything and just stop these bad habits and do simple things like go to bed on time. But I think people, and so let me say this, the addiction cope is not a knock on people. We are a society addicted to addiction, all of us. And that's just what you cannot have, the systems we have, you cannot have within 1 mile radius 50 fast food joints, 50 places selling sugary drinks, basically a heroin-like device in front of you the entire time and not expect society to be addicted. And so we have a societal problem to this addiction, and it's a very complicated psychological conversation.
Just to follow, thank you for that question, is just eliminating negatives the most powerful thing you've done for age reversal so far?
For me, it was because, you know, when 7 p.m. Bryan would arrive, and I would know full well, like, oh God, he's here again, like we're gonna down a whole pan of brownies.
Making me want a brownie right now.
Then we're gonna snitch at the, pint of ice cream, and then maybe to top it off, some cookies, and then cozy up to some goldfish, whatever. But like, yeah. The idea of doing something positive is one way to deal with it, but it really tries to cover up the negative. Like, I was helpless in my own behaviors. I couldn't stop them. And I would try to do positive things, eat well, take supplements, but it didn't solve the fundamental problem of me badly damaging my body every night. Overeating would be terrible sleep, which would just be this avalanche of other negative consequences. So for me, stopping the bad was the way to ignite this whole thing. If I hadn't have stopped the bad, I don't think I could have done any of it.
Sure. Okay, other questions? How about over there? Yeah, right in that front row. Yeah.
Hi, Bryan. I'm Tess. Since we're on the national sperm crisis, I'm wondering, is that an area that you guys would work on in terms of reverse that, extend male fertility?
Yeah, you got something to say about that, right?
Hey, Aubrey. Are you asking me to talk about my penis? I'm shy.
I didn't know the question.
You're not shy on Twitter, so.
Okay. Okay, so for those of you, it is possible I have the most measured penis in the world, possibly. So I started looking at nighttime erections. There's a device built by this company in the UK. It's a little teeny cube, wraps around the shaft, and it measures how long you're erect. And for the men in the room, if you remember when you're 10 years old, you're erect.
Maybe not 10, but 12.
Okay, yeah, so like early adolescent, you're erect all the time. You're walking in between class and you don't know what to do because like you got to cover this thing up.
It's awkward.
And then you go, as you age, you of course get fewer erections and they're less firm. And so nighttime erections are actually a meaningful biological age marker. And so we started to parse this out, and we said, if you look at sexual health as a biological age function, what would you do? So we did nighttime erections, and we just completed a bunch of other things, like we did urine speed, void rate, whether I could empty my bladder. We injected my penis to get erect, and we did blood flow, looking at the rates. We did a bunch of questionnaires. We did a whole bunch of other stuff. But I think the more interesting thing is on the societal discussion around this is, of course, this is taboo. It makes people feel uncomfortable. It's something that they shy away. It's also really good fodder for joking. But it really does bring this to the forefront of, when you don't sleep well, it annihilates your erections. And I had so many friends reach out to me, and they're like, I don't think I'm ever erect, like when I sleep, ever. And it was really a representation of their life and what they're doing. And so I think that, to me, what's really happened with this fertility and discussion of organ health is these uncommon topics bring to the surface these things that people are struggling with privately. They want to address it, and it just hasn't been safe to talk about it in any way.
I'm just trying to sit up straight. Let's get somebody over here, maybe. I'm making the mic runners move here. Yeah, that's a good hand right there. That's a good one, Deb.
And I guess sorry, just one more thing on the penis, sorry. After doing all these baseline measurements, we wondered what we could do for rejuvenation, and we started shockwave therapy. And so we used a focus shockwave, and I've now completed 12 treatments, 4,000 shocks per therapy. Yep. But again, like you pair up that kind of measurement with shockwave, and like everyone kind of goes wild with like those two things. But it's once you get past it, once you get past the shock, it's really a productive conversation and opened up all kinds of doors. So
it's like a low-level shockwave?
yeah. So
it's kind of a winsome
It
statement.
hurts.
Does it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Any way you look at it hurts.
Yeah. That's right.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
Please.
So if I understand correctly, you're pretty calorie restricted. Do you think your quality of life would improve if you eat more, even if longevity itself wouldn't improve?
There's like a list of 10 assumptions people make or so about when they encounter blueprint for the first time. There's 10 assumptions or so they make, and one is they assume that their joy of food or eating is superior to mine. They think that the food I eat somehow has me in some kind of prison, a deprivation of joy. And I would argue, if you could actually measure the biochemical reactions between the two of us, I would argue I experience more exquisite joy from my food consumption than they do. And I would say in any other time in my life, I've never experienced more joy in eating food. And it's probably because I'm in a restricted environment, right? I value every single calorie, and the taste I value. I know before, when I could eat whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted it, it just became numb, almost like life became numb. And so the supposition on this is that somehow I'm missing out on life, somehow I'm missing out on joy, somehow my life is a prison of my own making. And I look at that, and it's just absolutely, I don't understand it. I've never experienced more joy with more exquisiteness than I have now. And it's very hard to convey that in conversation, because it's almost in like a disbelief. But no, I think right now I'm in like peak joy of my caloric intake and the foods I eat.
Yeah, it's interesting because that's a critique. Yeah. That's a critique of almost any move to take charge of your health, your longevity, even one that's much less rigorous than that you're following, is that somehow you're sacrificing quality of life to have quality health. And that's a very fatal dichotomy, right? You don't want to put your quality of life and your quality of health or longevity in separate categories. So you just got to figure out a way to put it together, right? Which I think you've done. Okay, how about right here?
Hi, Brian. My name is Jen. I live in Venice, California, where you do. And I should be on the top 5 in your rejuvenation Olympics competition once they update the leaderboard. I'm a very big fan of what you do. My question is actually if I could have a chance to join your team for work, because I'm such a big fan and I just wanted to get to ask you in person. So,
I think I've seen you on Twitter.
yes, you
Yeah.
messaged me one time, actually.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
wonderful to see you.
You too.
Yes, I hope that we're going to be able to expand this into a gigantic community, not just about Blueprint, but about this cohesiveness of us trying to do things together. the energy is palpable. It feels like this community, which has been working so hard for a long time, it's like we are at this new moment. So I hope we can create opportunities for people like yourself who are all in, that we would offer up infrastructure and help so you could do exactly it. So I hope the answer is yes. We're working towards it.
This is a good, yeah. Right over here.
Hi, Brian, thank you. My name is Christine Salter. I'm a physician from St. Louis, and I deal with lifestyle medicine. So I'm curious as to what you said that you were not able to make all these changes. What allowed you to make these changes so that you were sleeping well and doing all the other stuff? Because everybody wants to make the changes and then have the challenge to actually make the changes.
Yeah, I love that question. I had to peel back like 20 layers of the onion. It was my 7 p.m. performance, and then it was the time I ate my last meal, and then it was the food I ate specifically at that time, and then it was my psychological state, and then it was my wind down time before bed, and then it was like this whole series of things. My son, who's 18, he's been going through the same process and trying to systematically structure his life so he can get the same high quality sleep every night. And he trips up all the time, and it's like, oh, I ate too late in the day, or I ate the wrong food in the day, or I didn't have a 1 hour wind down time. I took work right to the edge of my bedtime. And so all these little events, but it's really taken me years to systematically get this, and it's hard. It's so hard. Sleep is the hardest thing. But I just say, working at it for several years, trying to figure out with measurement what things do work and what things don't work, specifically for you. Is that useful?
So you look really young. You do. But you've lived, you've had experiences, you've had probably some difficult experiences. How do you youth the mind along with the physique?
I think one of the more meaningful things where we're at right now as a species is intelligence in society has been about what you can know. So you learn in class knowledge, you represent on tests that you know it, and that's been the sign of intelligence in society. And for the first time in human history, we're walking into a future where we cannot see more than a year out. Artificial intelligence is changing so fast, we cannot see that horizon. And it's a brand new environment for our form of intelligence. And so to me, the dominant form of intelligence is not going to be what you know, it's what you don't know, and it's your comfort in not knowing.
So if I'm understanding, then sort of accepting the unknown as a real livable environment is sort of a younger person. You could say that's sort of a young outlook.
Yeah, and I'd say, so I guess one little jump here is we just had a female complete blueprint for 30 days, and we'll be sharing her video next week, and we're doing in conjunction with this a photo shoot of Adam and Eve, and we're posing this question: if we retold the origin story of the human race right now, what story would we tell? What are the rules of the game? And we're almost there on this, but one of the fundamental questions that arises is, right now, I've said yes to an algorithm that runs my health and wellness because it's better at it than I am. And so then it raises this question: do I have free will? Do I know what free will experience is? If I have this interaction with this algorithm, what is that emergent free will, and how do I feel about it? Is it a prison or is it freedom? And so this is, I think, goes back to this not knowing and being okay, because most people get in that situation and they panic. What does it mean? Am I going to be scared? Can I have fun? Can I do this? And they just want everything to know. They want to know to satisfy. And it's hard to stop and say, I know nothing. I have all these swarming fears, and that's perfectly okay.
Yeah. Super. How about right here in the pink? In the pink. Well, they're both in pink, yeah.
Karen Iden, have you, regarding community, have you given any consideration to physically forming a community that actually lives together in the same location that you guide, that want to practice blueprint together and live in the same area?
If they can go to bed on time.
You can't stay up late talking about blueprint, I don't think.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't think that will work. Let's get the woman in the hot pink back there, just because.
Thank you. Hi, Brian. My name is Mary Festino. I'm here for my Spanish speaker community. Your incredible journey represents for me the power of accountability. Take the responsibility, total responsibility about our health, physical health, mental health, and emotional health. Do you feel more powerful than ever?
I think I feel relief from the tyranny of my mind more than anything.
Super. Okay, how about right here in the blue shirt? Sorry. Thank you, Caesar.
Good afternoon. Richard Swift. One of the ways I've been looking at for managing difficult decisions on partial data is the old wisdom of crowds. Have you looked at that as a decision-making process for this, for looking into the future? That's it.
We really haven't. And my honest answer is I think humanity's intuitions are wrong right now. I think the starting point is wrong. For example, I think my most controversial idea is this idea that my mind was the authority to decide what I do and how I do it. And when I said yes to an algorithm, my mind can watch from the bleachers, but it's no longer in charge. And when we look at this problem in a broader perspective and we say, let's replace me with planet Earth. Planet Earth is the body. And if you could do the same thing of taking millions of measurements on planet Earth, looking at scientific evidence of optimal conditions for coral and animals and air and land, and then we humans play within the boundaries of those protocols, is the same process. And right now, we do whatever we want, whenever we want, with almost no consequence. And we treat the Earth the same way we treat our bodies. And so when I imagine crowdsourcing, hey, humanity, what do we want? It's the runaway mind asking for endless things, which are outside the budget of our ability. And I don't think that, I think we've played our hand really well, and now it's time to walk into a new era of intelligence.
Of course, you had the intelligence. Of course, your mind, you have made these decisions and these choices, right? So
yeah,
you did that, right? And you're doing it, and you're choosing, right? And you're assessing you're still present in this, right? I mean, you're still assessing. You're looking at the algorithm, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm just barely smart enough to realize I shouldn't be in charge.
Okay, how about right here? Can we get? Thank you.
Bryan, I love the fact you're using data to make your decisions, not just what you might feel or what you might pick up from an ideology. But how can you decide? Because sometimes when you take a new supplement, Maybe it takes a while to have an effect. How do you know how long to wait? And how do you know whether it's supplement one that's having the result, or maybe it's simply that you've had more good sleep than before?
Yeah, we've recently implemented some meaningful statistical rigor in looking at that, of basically, do we think this effect is real, and with what probabilities? So I think the combination is the robustness of measurement, the statistical analysis we're doing, I think gives us a good starting point. I do think your point is valid, though when you stack as many things as we're doing, it does create some risk of confounds. So we're definitely aware of that, and it's, we're not sure exactly how to play within that space. We're doing our best, trying to, with the measurement, but valid point.
Yep. How about right there? Can we get this gentleman right here in the? Yep.
Brian Albrecht from New Orleans. Is there one particular intervention that you feel has helped you achieve your sleep goals, especially deep sleep?
Yes, if my resting heart rate is between 46 and 49, 5 minutes before I go to bed, I'm almost guaranteed a fantastic night's sleep. And what feeds that is when I ate my last meal, how many calories I've had, whether I'm aroused from work, whether if I'm stressed and I'm ruminating on certain things, that will bump up the heart rate. So really, that's, to me, that has been the highest value predictor of sleep.
How about in the back of the room there, next to the camera? Why not? Media.
Yeah, media. Hi, I'm Niklas from Sweden, TV4. When do you miss to eat a brownie the most?
It may seem hard to believe. The idea makes me sick. It's repulsive to me. And it reminds me of the awfulness of how I feel, that I can't sleep, that I'm ornery, that I'm depressed. To me, it's everything that's awful in life. It has nothing to do with pleasure anymore. And it's just gone.
So we've talked a lot about some pretty basic things, which are hugely important. How important in the equation is not just being healthier than the sick guy, but actually living forever, actually getting out of the whole model? How important is that in this whole equation to you?
One of the critiques that people have of Blueprint is they look at the science currently and they say, I don't see anything right now that convinces me that radical life extension is real or possible or even in the near horizon. Even take our very best papers. And I think that really misses the point. It's not whether you're all in on do not die is not whether the science right now says it's possible. It's the speed of progress of artificial intelligence. It's the computational systems of intelligence that are going to be the discoverers of this new era. And so then if you say, what is the math behind the speed of progress of this new intelligence? And I look at it and I think, unquestionably, we could be baby steps away from the most remarkable existence in the galaxy, at least in this part of the galaxy. We've yet to find life, and we get to live in this moment when that opportunity is here. Now, will we achieve it? I don't know, but we're so close. To me, this is why I would say the only thing on humanity's to-do list is don't die. Don't die, don't kill each other, don't kill the planet, don't underestimate aligning with AI. It is just don't die as a species.
So I mean, just to underscore that, it's great to sort of clean up your act and live 5 more years, right? Or live 10 more years, or get rid of something that doesn't feel good in your body. But the prize, really, that we're looking at here is much, much bigger than that, right? And so there's, I mean, I'm teeing this up for you, but there's joy in that too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that part of the motivation?
Yeah, I mean, going back to this idea, intelligence is not knowing. Imagine we have a conversation with Homo erectus, where 1 million years ago, they have an axe. They haven't innovated the axe in 1 million years, and you're posing the question to Homo erectus, do you want to hang around and live for a long time? And that intelligence is like, well, I'm going to run around the bush, kill things with my axe, and like, this is pretty miserable, it stinks. But never would Homo erectus be able to conjure up quantum mechanics and exploring space and exploring the world of biology. And so for us to imagine we even have the slightest intuitions or ideas about what could be possible is foolish. The only thing we can model out is what Albert Camus, the French philosopher, said, is like, once you look at the existential philosophical state of the world, you either commit suicide or you're in. Like, that's it. You got 2 choices, but choose one and go. And I think we're at this moment, and it is go. I don't want to miss out.
I think that's a great note to end on. Yeah.